Okay, then let's start with our autumn conference from the Academic Association of Sales Engineering. Welcome to everybody who joined us. Before we start with the conference, just one information. This conference is recorded, so we want to make it available on the AASE website afterwards. So if you don't want to be recorded, just switch off your cameras and be quiet afterwards when we get into the question and answer section. We are very happy that we have with us today Ken Lambert from the North American Association of Sales Engineers, who joined us and who will present us about insights about where tomorrow's sales engineers are coming from, with specific regard to the United States. And Silvio Cardinali, who's the team leader of a European-funded project on sales. We will get the first results of this project called Splash. That's really great.
Good morning to all of you.
Again? Okay.
Just good morning to all of you.
Yeah, good morning, especially to Ken, who's joining us from United States, where it is really very early. And we are really happy that you're with us. So before we start, just some information, because we have a lot of people around the table today that don't know the Academic Association of Sales Engineers. Some words about us. So the association has been created in 2014 by professionals of teaching sales engineers in Europe. We are today about 30 teachers and deans from about 15-20 universities in Finland, in Germany, in Austria, and in France, with a focus of all these universities in Germany, where sales engineering is a topic at universities for a long time now. The association has three main objectives. The first one is to improve sales engineering education and to set standards. We want to be the guarantee for having high quality studies which are in line with the needs of companies and of the industry. We want to promote sales engineering in society, industry, and politics, because what we see is that there's a huge lack of sales engineers for the European industry, and our knowledge is fine. We'll have some similar insights from the US market too. And now, last but not least, we want to stimulate research in the field of sales engineering, where technical products are sold. This is not in the mind of, for example, European or national funding organizations that sales needs research to. They are mainly focusing on technical issues and technical products and not on selling these technical products. So this is just one very short introduction. We set up a certification for sales engineering study programs with two universities that have this, that acquired this certification: the Technical Hochschule in Aschaffenburg in Germany and the Turku University of Applied Science in Turku in Finland. So congratulations to these first study degrees that got the certification. We just started this summer, so this is not a problem or an issue that there are, for the moment, only two study programs that are certified. But congratulations to these first two study programs. That's all for you, for the Academic Association of Sales Engineering. We have a website with some more information, which we will show the link at the end of this conference. So if you want to go to the website, feel free to go there. Let's start with our conference and with Ken Lambert, General Manager from the North American Association of Sales Engineering, NAASE. You see there's a very close logo, AASE and NAASE. And his presentation, where are tomorrow's sales engineers coming from, an American point of view. Ken, if you can shortly introduce yourself before starting your presentation? It would be great, and the floor is yours.
Hello, thank you, Thomas, and thanks AASE for allowing me and NAASE to share here with you. So I'm sitting here in Massachusetts. Most of my life and career has been here in New England, and I actually have a slide that gets into some of my background here, but and also NAASE. I've worked as a sales engineer and in technical sales for many years, over the course of my career. And again, some of this is going to ring true, I think, for many of you, without getting down into the weeds yet. I'm not in the software or IT end of things, okay, end of sales engineering. I'd say that's about probably half of sales engineers fall into that category, working for different corporations that are basically selling and implementing software. I've been in more of the industrial and manufacturing and materials end of the world, end of the economy, and so we'll talk about both of those things in a little bit. So I will, hopefully I'm allowed to share now. I think I am. So let's, Thomas, if you could let me know if this all looks good.
Looks good.
All right, we'll get started here. So like I said, thanks for letting me here today. Appreciate it. So a few things that were my goals here for today, what is the North American Association of Sales Engineers? And I realize it's a long name, so maybe we'll just use the acronym. Before we get into where are tomorrow's sales engineers coming from, I think it's important to look at, are sales engineers needed? And again, I'm talking about the USA market and economy basically here. I know it's a little different in Europe, but I think there's a lot of similarities, I think, between what is needed in Europe probably and what is needed in America. That's my guess. But what's the current job market here for sales engineers in the United States? What current USA college sales engineers, what programs or clubs, quote unquote, do they have currently, and where are they? What current US colleges have a sales engineer bachelor's degree program? And in the USA, how do professionals and recent grads, of course, become sales engineers? And what are those prerequisites? And do you have to have a engineering degree, bachelor's degree, industrial engineering, chemical engineering, et cetera, to call yourself a sales engineer? That is something that I talked about with AASE back a month or two ago. So I think there's some differences between the US and the European markets there. And then we'll have a few, open talk. And then I know Silvio is going to be speaking and also after that. So basically, just NAASE very briefly. I'm the founder, I'm the president. We also have a general manager, vice president named Matt Mahoney, who does quite a bit and helps out. We also have 7 people on our advisory board. So all of that info, I'm not going to go into the weeds on that. You can go to our website if you like. It's sales-engineering.org, okay, for more info on that. We're a professional association that is focused on sales engineers and technical sales representatives, okay? We were launched in June of 2020, so we're a little bit, not quite a year and a half old, okay? We have been growing, and it's been interesting as we've set forth, mostly in the COVID era, but things are picking up steam here a little bit. A very brief intro of myself. There's a little screenshot there of guerrilla marketing for B2B sales. Little joke there with the caption, but I do some writing. I'm a freelance writer as well as all my other hats. I do some sponsored content writing, some technical writing, some different business writing, marketing subjects. This one here is on obviously guerrilla marketing. SMPS is the Society for Marketing Professional Services. Okay, and that's a national organization in the U.S. and I'm in Boston area, so I mainly do things for Boston area. I'm the president, founder of NAASE. I'm the former national sales engineer for a building product manufacturer, a Canadian manufacturer, and I was essentially in charge of really all sales and technical sales in the United States. So it was a big territory. There's a lot of travel there, but we can chat about that later. Currently, my full-time job, I am the current regional director for New England of industry development and technical services for a commercial architecture and construction company. And then, like I said, I do some writing as well for different groups. So let's get into sales engineers. In the US, what is the outlook for sales engineers? This is right from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, okay, which is the US Department of Labor. So I'm not making these numbers up anyways. They're going back to 2019. This is their latest that's up on their website, which obviously things have changed a little bit, but it's pretty close. About $104,000 a year is typical pay, average pay or median pay for a sales engineer in the US. So when you look at that and compare it to what is the average pay in the United States, period, it's about $52,000, okay, in the US. So it's about double the average income for somebody in the United States. So again, I would say that's a pretty strong income. Typical entry-level education, again, like it says, bachelor's degree. Number of jobs, that's really number of sales engineers that are out there. It's about 64,000. I have it about 67,000. We'll look at that in a few minutes. Job outlook, they're saying a little faster than average, about 6% year over year for sales engineers in the US. So I dug into that a little deeper, okay? Because as a professional association, obviously, I'm very interested in where is the market headed? What can I do to help our members? You know, is this a good career choice? You know, we do job postings. We have those on our website. You know, we help companies do that and that kind of outreach. But anyways, the market for sales engineers is roughly 4 times more advantageous for the candidate than the typical job title or position out there. That's based on the number of open positions versus the total sales engineers that exist in the United States. And I'll show you that in a minute. It's a little confusing. So there is a strong need and growth for sales engineers or technical sales reps. I kind of put that into that equation as well, even though it's not exactly the same in the United States. This is how I got to that, okay? This is not rocket science, certainly, but it's just sort of an anecdote, which I think is relevant. The numbers do speak for themselves. We can ascertain the relative demand for sales engineers versus other types of positions just by looking at comparing a few numbers. In the US, sales engineer, the number of sales engineers in the US is approximately 67,000. The number of right now sales engineer job postings on LinkedIn, which is obviously widely used, LinkedIn, okay, for job postings, is 95,000. So we have more job openings or postings anyways on LinkedIn than we have sales engineers in the United States. So then you compare it to a few other things that have nothing to do with sales engineers. Landscape architect, number of landscape architects in the US, about 23,000. They only have about 8,300 job postings on LinkedIn, about a 3-to-1 ratio there. And then computer programmer, number of computer programmers in the US, 185,000, and then about 89,000 job postings. So about a 2-to-1 ratio there. So you can see the numbers there are skewing that, you know, if you're a sales engineer in the US and you're looking for a job, you're in pretty good shape, I think. So that's a good sign. Why being a sales engineer is a great job prospect. I stumbled upon this about a year or so ago, and it's a great website. It's a little odd, maybe. This willrobotstakemyjob.com. All to do with automation, okay? And I strongly suggest you take a look at that. It's very well done. It's nothing to do with me or my association. They run different studies and calculations on this, and they break it down, and this is just for sales engineers, which you see here. Sales engineers have a very low risk of being automated over the next 1 to 2 decades. That's very important for the college students that I know there's a couple of classes maybe listening. According to this website, sales engineers have a very low risk of being automated. They're showing here a 5% risk of being automated in the next decade or 2. That is extremely low. There are many professions listed. They have over 700 professions that they analyze. There are many professions listed that have a 50% plus risk of being automated. Some have a 90% plus risk of being automated. So that's very important as you're, looking for a career, or as you're, maybe you're, 5 years, 10 years into a career, but you're maybe trying to shift into maybe something else or becoming a sales engineer. this is relevant info, I think. So we'll get a quick sip of water here. Where do we find the next generation of sales engineers? So one, colleges with a sales engineering club or club members, students who participated in a technical sales or sales engineering competition. So that's a sales engineering competition, not a sales competition, right? It's kind of two different things. And again, that sort of goes into my next point. Engineering majors who attended a sales boot camp. Okay, I just spoke to someone, Texas A&M University, very big school in Texas. They have a 2-week sales boot camp that they run just for engineering majors. Okay, and that's an excellent program. You know, I'm glad that they do that. And it's funny though, they typically get about 30 students to do that sales boot camp. There are about 25,000 engineering majors at Texas A&M, and they get 30 students to do that sales boot camp. So that shows you where things are at or where people's priorities are at, but it's interesting, I think. What about importing sales engineering graduates from an AASE certified European university? I don't know. That's what we can talk about here, but I thought that that was very interesting, and I'd love to see a diploma with a sales engineer as the Bachelor of Science title, just as something to have. I think it'd be interesting. There are no USA colleges with sales engineering bachelor or master degree programs, period. A few do have minors. So again, we have, you know, your major, you get a major in computer software, computer engineering, then you could have a minor in psychology or whatever. So a minor, kind of a subset concentration, obviously. I assume you do it similarly over there. But if you do have minors, I think Purdue does, Texas A&M, maybe a couple others. But again, a minor, you're taking, you know, a few classes in something really to get that minor. It's really not a big, it's not a big ask, okay? So, and then on my little note down below, we're talking about the typical college track. For some companies, and depending on what the product is, there are some sales engineers in the US that do not have a college degree, okay? So that's important, and that may be different from Europe, but I just want to make that known, okay? I won't go down that rabbit hole too much here. But Degree Query, this is an interesting website. You can check it out. I just did this about a month ago. What degree do I need to become a sales engineer? Okay, let's take a look. What do they say? This is, again, US based. These are they say most sales engineers major in some discipline of engineering, such as computer engineering, electrical, mechanical, civil, chemical, biomedical, then your computer hardware engineering, okay? And then it says, studies in business can also be helpful, really, particularly because sales engineers are increasingly being expected to handle tasks like market research, even according to the BLS. And then it says, this is interesting, an engineering degree program will cover all the STEM or technical principles, right? But it typically won't offer any sales training. It's common for entry-level sales engineers to undergo training in sales techniques by their employer or via their employer, with their employer, et cetera. We'll talk about that too in a second. This is not the North American Association of Sales Engineers. Is a different group, which we know. I know the founders and the president of them. This is NSSE. I don't want to involve another acronym into this, but the National Society of Sales Engineers. They really are focused on the college programs and college students. And there are sales engineering clubs in these, I think it's 11 or 12 universities across the country. That's it. There's many hundreds of universities in the United States. We have like 12 that have an SE club and none that have an SE major, okay? But if I was looking for someone and they were in an SE club and I was a company, this is where I would probably look. In addition, I mentioned the sales engineering competition before. Last year, this slide says 2020, I was a judge in this here, the National Sales Engineering Competition. And it was really, really excellent. It was put on by that NSSE group, not me. And they really get into the weeds here with the competition and judging. And again, as a judge, I had to judge all the teams. There was a pair of college students would come, and again, it's similar to a lot of sales competitions, I think. And this year they were selling some kind of Dell enterprise software solution. Okay, and these are the things that they're being judged on. The students validated a target meeting outcome at an agenda, and then they made sure that at the end of the meeting, what was the next step? Okay, let's identify that. Again, I'm not going to read all these, but they also had to utilize a relevant customer success story to reinforce experience and credibility. They had to, use spin questioning. This is the sales end, right? I mean, it's technical sales. This is really what the typical engineering student, if you're a civil engineering student, you have no idea what this page even says. Right, in the United States, certainly. Okay, but people that are in this competition, it's a day and a half long competition. It was really great. This year, there was about 85 students in the US that were in that competition. Last year was about 100, just as a note. How does someone become a sales engineer? The technical sales SE role is growing, and like I said before, it is becoming more important for more firms. US colleges do not come out of school with US college students with a degree in this hybrid role. Then again, employers often have to implement specific and lengthy training or internships for new hires. Typically involves cross-training from another in-house employee. And then again, my theory is, I kind of envision that the US is probably maybe 10 years behind Europe in looking at this and in considering this. Is a European-based sales engineering bachelor's degree kind of program in the near future at the US. And I don't know, I'm not really an expert at that, but that's just my theory. How do you transition into an SE career? 5 starting points, 5 starting positions, okay? This is by Rob Schneider, who spoke at one of our forums back about a year ago. He's a sales engineer and a marketer and a speaker. He said, if you have a current job in technical support or marketing, or inside sales, or product implementation, or product development. Those are all good titles. And again, that's where some of these companies in the US are finding their sales engineers. They're filling their sales engineer roles. They're saying, hey, Mary in inside sales has been here for 4 years. She's smart. She knows what she's doing. She knows the product. She knows the company. Let's transition her into being a sales engineer. Those are things that are happening all the time here. Each of the above roles, I think, has their own pros and cons, which we don't have time to get into on this little chat. But so for new SE hires with limited SE experience, how do they learn? Shadow an SE colleague, right? Role plays with sales management or peers, online or e-learning courses, sales or pre-sales one-on-one coaching, reading, right? Plenty of literature and books over the past several years focused on SE tactics, not just sales tactics. There's, 60 years, 50 years of books on sales tactics, and that's fine, but on sales engineering per se. And then no training, good luck with it. Ken, we'll see you. Talk to me in a year. The learning, failing on the job, sink or swim, which I think often is the case, especially in small to mid-sized companies. And then in-depth internship or training. I'm almost done here, but a couple things on the in-depth SE training. This is, I'm not advocating Citrix here. One of our board members is a big head honcho at Citrix here in the US, but Citrix has a pretty good program, technical consulting, sales engineering, a leadership development program. Okay, some larger companies like Citrix or a few others have an established LDP specifically for SEs, college students coming out of school with an engineering degree or some tech degree or even a business degree that they want to be a sales engineer. Their program at Citrix anyways lasts a year. So it's almost like it's a year internship, but it's essentially a paid internship. It is paid. But so that's a large commitment from both the employer and the candidate to find out if you're going to be good at it, if you like it, and all that. And I'm sure that, I don't know what it pays. I don't want to get into that, but I'm sure that the pay is certainly less than what a sales engineer would make. Because again, you're being trained for a year, okay? Again, at Citrix anyways. This is just, getting into this. So Citrix realizes, they're a pretty smart, pretty big company, that they need to give 1 year of sales engineer training for recent college grads. Again, I think that that's a lot. If you're a company, That's the current status, in the US. So again, this just gets into, it's a 12-month program. What are you going to do? You got to do this. You're going to learn leadership techniques. You're going to fine tune your presentation skills, etc. We got to relocate a couple times. I threw this in there as a little, screen share there by NAASE on tour. In Dusseldorf, I don't know how to say it, via Zoom, of course, as I was on with Professor Katie a few weeks ago, and that was a great podcast, basically, that she does for her students, and hopefully that was relevant, and that's about it for me. And again, I think like Thomas said, I think we'll probably chat maybe towards the end of this call, but that's what I had to share. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ken, for these very interesting insights. I have some questions, but I say answer some comments. Just one, if I look on the Citrix program for sales engineering training, lots of things I've seen in there is what we integrated in our integrated sales engineering program standard. So personal skills, presentation, technical skills, but also sales skills. So it's great to have this same vision or similar vision on the other side of the ocean, even if it's a company who's doing this and not yet the universities. But perhaps we'll come to that later on.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Ken, for this presentation. I would like to suggest that I share my screen again. This one here. Okay, and there we go to our next speaker, Silvio Cardinali from the Politecnica delle Marche University in Italy. Silvio is associated professor for marketing and sales management, and he's especially team leader of project that is co-funded by the Erasmus Plus program of the European Union, and he will confirm that this later on, called Splash, which is analyzing sales in education in Europe. Silvio, if you want to share your screen, please. Normally it should be possible, and we're looking forward to hearing your insights and results.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for your invitation. It's a great pleasure for me to be with you. Clearly, I'm not an engineer, so I'm so sorry, but probably not coherent with your audience, but I'm really passionate of sales. This is my topic, and I will try to share what is the result of this project. I hope you can now see my screen.
No, Silvio, we see your, yeah, no, that's better. Great.
Okay, that's perfect. So thank you again. I will try just to share a few insights from the Splash project. Clearly, as already mentioned, I'm not an engineer, and also the focus of this project is not about sales engineer, but in general about sales. And this project was born a couple of years ago with many friends all around Europe, starting from Finland to Austria and also Denmark. And with this group of colleagues from different universities, we started to think about this project that I'm going to present to you now. So this is my agenda. I just few information about me and the reason why of Splash project and few of our results. We conducted different type of research that are the basis for this project. The first one is a survey on sales scholars all around Europe and few also from US. We conducted a platform analysis, so we tried to understand from the already existing platform on sales which kind of information they provided to the students, and also we conduct few focus group in these 4 countries on what are the main issue, the main aspect to address on sales education. This is me. I'm associate professor at Marche Politecnica University. You can find me on LinkedIn, and also I'm a vice president of an association of professors all around the world. And for 6 years, I served as a vice rector for communication of my university. My university is, as you know, in Italy, but it's not in the Rome side. It's in the other side, so we say in the East Coast, in the English version, we can say, okay? But probably the German know pretty well, I hope. So I'm also a speaker. Now, today I'm here as a splash coordinator, but in my real life, I normally teach in the university and also travel all around the world just to deliver a few speech about sales. This is one of my speech. It's a TED speech, probably all of us know the TED.com. There is in one of my speech in the TED about sales and sales stereotype, and I'm going also just to tell you about that because this is the kickoff of our projects. I also work with many companies, mainly of that are from Italy, but probably you can know from worldwide brand on that. Let's start for when what is the reason why of the Splash project. Sorry, I don't want to go directly to the point, but just to make a brief introduction. So one of the key issues of sales in the broad sense is the different point of view of a personal selling in the different field. And this is affected by a very important stereotype that has a real impact in business and education. Can already report to us there is a lack of training program for sales engineer, but in general there is a lack of course on sales, and this is because there is a big gap in education. So, but one of the reasons of this gap is about the stereotype. If you keep in consideration the majority of our students in the engineer faculty is the same, but they mainly students in the economics students. If you speak with that student, you say, yeah, do you want to be a salesman in the future? It probably gives to you this feedback. Oh, no, professor, I'm studying. So if I'm studying, I cannot be a salesman. So because to be a salesman is not important to study. But if you chat with the parents of this student, they probably give to you the same feedback. So keep in consideration if you have some son or daughter and you embrace them for the first time and you imagine a future for this guy, you say, oh, I hope that you will be in the future probably a medical doctor, maybe an engineer, but not a salesman. This stereotype, I don't want to bother you, but I have many studies about that. I work for with also sociology just to understand what is the reason why of this stereotype, and also work on the 200 years of literature on that, starting from the Bible, just to understand this stereotype. So the problem is that the student and his family have a very bad feedback about salesmen. And this is the same for many higher education institutions. So, and it's particularly in the south part of Europe, so Spain, Italy, Greece, and part of French, there is really a gap. So university and also in bachelor and master degree, there don't have any special kind of course in sales education. And this is a real gap. The situation is pretty different in the German-speaking market and also in the northern part of Europe, like Finland. I'll have a look from some colleague from Finland. And so this is the situation of the educational institution. Clearly, the point of view of the scholar is totally different. How research from the last 20 years already report that the role of salesman is just not to sell, but it's a value create role. And this is crystal clear in many of you that you have already worked on that field. The situation is also different from the companies, because if you have a look to the Manpower report, each year reported that they are looking for worldwide salesmen of different level. So in that this kind of landscape, we notice how the stereotype have a clear impact in business and education. And the state of the art of the study in sales that reported that the sales job has dramatically changed and evolved clearly became more relevant, the role of the salesman, but more complex and value adding. And this is crystal clear for the scholar. And so the companies from that way is going to look to hire guy not only in the people that don't have a master degree, but probably they looking for a high skilled guy in the university. But from the other side, the university do not provide work-ready students just because they consider sales the stepchild of marketing. So there is a gap. Clearly, the situation is pretty changed in the last decades. But from my point of view, but also from the point of view of this Splash Consortium, what we have done in the last few decades is not enough. There is a growing interest in sales education. For example, in the US, there is also an association called the Sales Education Foundation that try to push the university, with the reason to push them to include the sales program in their activity. But as reported to Lisa Spiller in the last publication on Journal of Marketing Education, there is already this gap. So we have to promote in a different way sales education inside the university, because sales is a transversal competence, not only for salespersons. And starting from that point, in the last 4 years, I tried to push the European Union to explain that this job needs to be promote. And so for that reason, I collect a lot of funds just from the European Union and work on different projects. The first one 4 years ago, it was this incomes project. So international key account management and sales. This is a program for the university that want to include sales education in their program. In the other one was for vet education. It's a Smile Learning program. It's about the profile of cross-cultural sales agents, and saleseducation.eu is the website of our project Splash. Let's go to Splash. We know what is the state of the art, and I don't want to proceed on that, but just want to give you what is another reason of this Splash project. Clearly, business asks for work-ready students. Sales education is very heterogeneous in the US. On European, in the European landscape. But what we try to do in that project is to understand the impact of technology on the last year. Clearly, technology has 2 main areas of impact. The first one is on topic, what we have to teach to the next students, the future students, what have to know. And the other side, they affect the sales education in the point of view of method. For this reason, I don't want to explain all this, the activity, but just to give you an example of what is our journey. The EO 1, 2, 3, 4 is the step of our project, the intellectual output of the European project, and it is the results of our project. Now we are in the middle, so we have already closed the loop for the intellectual output number 1 and the intellectual output number 2. And we are going to proceed for the last one. We have already another couple of years to work on that. We create a consortium. You can see my university, Aalborg University in Denmark, Tampere University, and also Overosted University, so University of Upper Austria. And the link of our match is come from Professor Christian Stadelman, is a close friend, and that create this link, and also many companies that try to support us. Let's go briefly to the main results. Just few insights from the different results of our study. So the first one, we try to collect few insights from the scholars. And the second one, we try to analyze the main platform, a sales platform on available in the market. And the last one is a company's focus group, just to understand if our results are aligned with the company's needs. So let's go to the few. Clearly, this is a small part of our results, but you can easily access to the saleseducation.eu website and have all the report available in free of charge. And clearly, if you have some more information to ask, I'm totally available to cooperate. Just one of the insight is not new, but it's just a confirmation, is that there is an increase of the number of the university that are keeping its consideration to create a new sales program in their uni. Clearly, we are our target in terms of scholar are sales scholars, so it's not an average professor in marketing or business, but it's a sales scholar. Another element that we could keep in consideration is the reason why this university decide to increase this program. This is a confirmatory study from also few study from US, and the demand is not from the students because the research, but because the company asked for a new program on that. 65% of the respondents. I go briefly to these charts, but it's important for us because the teaching methods, the teaching method that they normally use to teach sales is pretty, let me say, traditional. So lecture, class discussion, in-class exercise, study presentation, and so on. This is what is already available in the field. Other approach like shadowing or field assignment or computer simulation are not so spread in our sample. Another issue is about the skill that they normally teach. Clearly, this is pretty different in terms of which kind of course is this. And in the beginning course of sales is an advanced course or is a sales management course. Clearly, in an introductory selling course, you have the majority of skill is about sales, selling, and communication. And if you keep in consideration sales management, the managerial and organizational issue is very important. As if we keep in consideration advanced selling, clearly you have to focus, they focus on negotiation and also the technological issue. But one of the key points of our results is about what is the gap. So what you expected that we have to teach to the next generation of the students. And the scholar, if you can easily see from this chart, they push to have more technology related topic. So the third item, sales analytics. The number 5 is use of social media in sales. And the number 6 is emerging sales technology. So what is the feedback from this scholar is that we have to push on to understand the sales technology landscape, to understand what the Americans say the sales stack, so the big flow of sales of technology in sales. I just move briefly to the platform analysis. You have all the results on the splash projects, we collect the data from approximately 80 platforms. So we analyze 80 platforms. We try to we define a set of keywords, and we try to collect on the web what is the main platform that already teach something about sales. And we try to organize this chart that we call sales education landscape. So this is for the splash project. What is the, let me say, the best option if you want, so if somebody want to understand something about sales in using e-learning platform. Clearly, the concept e-learning platform is pretty broad, but the majority of that are learning management system that allow you to interact, but also to have a look to video, use some artificial intelligence platform, and so on. And in that chart, you can see all the brands that provide in these 4 areas, sales management, digital selling, and personal selling, and team selling, the different platforms. Few of that are open, few are free trial, and some of that, not necessarily the best, are paid services. This is what we call the sales education landscape, and this is available on the to be available in the splash landscape website. Let's go briefly to the one note about the pedagogical issue on that platform. So what we know is the scholar say that we have to push on to teach more technology and sales. And from the other side, we notice that there is a lot of platforms that already teach sales. But the challenge now for the uni is how to make a mixed method. So how to apply, how to use this available platform in our course. They are mainly pretty traditional, so face-to-face discussion, role play, and so on. This is one of the challenges that we want to address in the future of our projects. Moving on the last part of our activity, just to go briefly from the conclusion, we already organized a few focus groups about on the company in our different countries, so Italy, Austria, Denmark, and Finland. And we kindly ask to this company what are, from their point of view, the key issue, just to teach to our students in the future. And the findings in which we try to merge of the main finding of the 4 nations is the following. The first one is to think about what will be the personal characteristic of a salesman now. So 3 keywords are emerging from. The first one is business acumen. Not only high quality in terms of relationship, but just to understand the business of the customer. And from the other side, you need to have emotional intelligence skill and also cultural intelligence. From the negotiation side, the majority of our sample invite us just to push in the concept of complex selling. There are no needs from that company just to learn how to negotiate in a simple negotiation. So if you, the context of buyer seller is easier, like the business to consumer field, but just to understand how to negotiate in complex selling, merging what is digital and what is physical. This is probably one of the major challenge. Another key issue was that the future of a salesman is not more the lone wolf. For years and years, we consider the salesman as a lonely wolf, so the only guy that you have to bring back the revenue. But now sales is a team issue. So this is what the companies reported to us. Already give also to us few insight about the impact of technology in two different areas. The first one is the analytic side, to understand in a better way the buyer, and from the other side, the technology is changing the process. So we have to understand how to use few tools just to, for example, lead generation like social selling, or from the other side, just to what we can bring inside. This is one of the key issues. We worked remotely for 1.5 years, but what will be the future? Will we be able to do the same efficiently or not? This is a key issue. From the last one is value-based selling, but you know pretty well that. Just to conclude, we are now, what we are doing now, we are just try to create a few new content just to share for the other European university, a few content on this general topic that from my side, but not only from my side, from the point of view of the Splash Consortium, is a key point for the future of sales education, is how to create new content in virtual complex selling. So how to manage complex selling virtually. This does not mean that all the pipeline must be virtual, but with a large part of that. So we are going to create in a complex selling different unit, different module, just to share this content for the university. They want to use our results. And this is the topic that you probably can imagine that are parts of the future of Splash projects. That's all from my side. It's just a brief introduction of what we made for the Splash project. I know this, not all the part is related to sales engineer, but hope you find this useful for your job. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Silvio, for this presentation. And yeah, this was great insights. I think we could learn a lot from AASE side. I hope the other participants too, that they learned something from your presentation. And I would like to open the question and answer session, but let me share this my screen again so that everybody knows what's happening now. I would like to start with one question for Ken and one for Silvio to launch this question, and then I just ask everybody who wants to ask a question to raise its hand. It's done in the navigation system of Zoom, should be possible. So my first question to Ken is, you spoke about these clubs, sales engineering clubs in colleges in the United States. Could you please explain a little bit more what these clubs are? Are these just student initiatives, or is this something that's organized by the university?
Hi, thanks, Thomas. So, I mean, they are student-run and student-led clubs, like most clubs are in the U.S. I believe at most of the universities. They're student-led, but they typically have to be authorized by the university. So, you know, a group of students may want to start a sales engineering club, and then they have to probably, typically there might be some small amount of dollars involved in that, right? And then they're going to go, students have no money, of course, whether you're in the US or in Europe, probably. So, you know, they are going to go to the university, right? And one of the deans there and ask for permission to start a club and probably get some kind of seed dollars just for, you know, basic stuff, and to be noticed and authorized. This is a university sanctioned club. That's, I believe, the way it would go. Okay,
thank you very much, Ken. My question to Silvio is, I think sales engineers need to sell too, so sales competition is just one part of their skills. We try to train them. When you presented your results, Don't know, there was no number on the slides, but when you presented the skills that are taught, I've seen that technical skills represent about 1/3 of the panel or of the sample, something like about 20, 22 university, depending on the level of training, compared to 69 as the whole sample. Is this due to the sample, due to the, let's say, cooperation with AASE, and that we spread your survey within our members so that there is an overload of AASE representatives in the sample, or is this not the case? Silvio, are you still there? We can't hear you anymore.
Yeah, sorry, I lost my connection, and now I'm back with you.
Okay.
Sorry.
So I will ask my question again.
Yes, because I'm out of the net.
Well, a question for you. When you presented the results of your project, one of the slides showed the skills that are taught in the programs of your sample of 69 university or degrees. And what I remember was that technical skills were represented in about 30%, something like 20 of these programs. And I was just wondering whether this was due to the fact that we shared your survey within AASE universities or not.
Yeah, that's probably, but considering that Thomas, the sample is only partly affected by German area. Many of that are from Italy, UK, Spain. So it could be, but I not consider that as a bias of the study.
Okay, thank you very much.
But there is an increase of demand of both the competence, technical and relationship. This is a key issue.
Okay, great. Let me have who is Timo? Raised your hand. So Timo, it's up to you for your question, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Dr. Timo from NAASE. Silvio, great presentation. And yeah, as being the European Sales Competition Director for this year, I noticed in the methodologies you have sales pitching, but no sales competitions. What do you think that is?
Yeah, because there are only few experience that you are the leader on that field, Timo. You know pretty well that. We have a lot of common thread together, not only from Finland, but all around Europe. I think that is one of the key elements for the not only for the technical sales, but in general. I've already experimented that in my course, and it's pretty effective. The question is that we have to enlarge our community, and to try to include that is as a normal part of the university course. That's the key issue, because the majority of the course in general, and also in sales, is a face-to-face, but it's very hard it's possible to teach, but it's difficult to understand sales in a face-to-face. That's my point of view, Timo.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Silvio. Thank you, Timo, for a question. I have one hand raised from a participant called Schmenke, something like this. Can't see the correct name. Sorry.
Thomas, that's me, Kathy. You know, my previous name before marriage was Schmenger, and so.
We can't really hear you. Can you try to go closer to your microphone, please?
Everybody else hear me?
Yes, now it's better. Like this is better.
Okay, I'm trying.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put it a little bit louder. Maybe it's getting better now. My question is to Ken. you spoke, first of all, thank you very much for your input. It was very, very interesting, even if we talked about it before. And you said in your overview that most of the sales engineers have a bachelor's degree. My question was, do they have any studies about those who have a bachelor's degree in engineering and then maybe a master in business on top of it, so that then they get the mixture of knowledges?
Right. No, that's a good question. I mean, I think that I don't know those studies that have been done. I don't know if there have been studies that have been done on that note specific to, current sales engineers, professional sales engineers. How many of them have MBAs? My gut reaction or just quick opinion is that I would say it's definitely a small minority in the US would have an MBA. I would say less than 10% probably, if I had to guess. But I've been, in industry for about 25 years or so since I graduated from college. But that's just my opinion. I don't really know if that's accurate. But that's not a bad thing. But MBA would give you that teach you that business acumen and some of those other things, right? And how to get how to understand the client's business and all of that. But and I don't have an MBA, so maybe I shouldn't speak to this, but I don't think that even as an MBA, I'm not sure how much sales techniques or sales training in the United States they even would have in an MBA program. Some of them do probably. I don't know. I'm not familiar with it really. Maybe
I don't even think about the actual MBA, but also a master's degree in business or marketing or anything else that could be somehow attached to sales.
Yeah.
Because that at least used to be a common model how students or graduates go into sales engineering. First of all, they start with a engineering bachelor's degree or these times diploma, and then on top of that they study in addition something like business or marketing or anything else, so that then they get the mixture of knowledge. But thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Kathy, for your question. Is there anybody else who wants to ask a question to Ken or to Silvio? Okay, I have one. In this case, I have one comment to Ken. On one of your slides, you mentioned whether you can solve or an option to solve the problems of missing sales engineers in the United States is to import them from AASE universities. I don't think that we really agree on that. I'm just kidding. Everybody's open to work where he wants.
Right.
But when we started AASE in 2014, we've done a rough estimation about the need for sales engineers in Europe, just based on the business-to-business sales of the European engineers companies, industry, based on statistical data, and then we just made the hypothesis that they are working for 35 years and have an average annual turnover of 5 million euros. And then we came up that the European industry needs something like between 12 and 15,000 new sales engineers every year. And all the universities, we know that they're graduating sales engineers with this integrated technical and sales and whatever courses. We know that we graduate something like 1,000. So there is a huge gap between what we are graduating and what the industry needs. And most of them are, as in the US, engineers that do some sales and who have been trained or not to do sales, often in companies or with some evening courses or vocational course lectures and so on. So same situation as in the US, sales engineers are really missing in Europe too.
Right. So one thing I'd say to that, and no, I understand it's sort of a joke or a half joke, but if NAASE broadcast and promoted on LinkedIn or on our website or whatever, that University of et cetera in Finland or whatever had had 100 students coming out with a sales engineering bachelor's degree. There might be some US corporations that may go to fit that Finland school to recruit some of those students. That's my point or whatever, is that because we don't have that, that's not an option here. That's kind of attractive, I think, to some larger companies, I think.
Why don't we make an interview then, or some white paper in a short version and then post it?
Yeah, that could be something that we can, talk about afterwards, or take offline, I think.
Yeah, I think we are all open for cooperation all over the globe, and cooperation and promotion of sales engineering degrees across Europe is one of the missions we gave ourselves. So if we can go and help US universities to set up sales engineering degrees, why not? I think we are really open to share our knowledge and our experience with others. Okay, I don't see any other question. Then I would like to say thank you very much to Silvio and to Ken for your presentation. It was really interesting and we learned a lot during this past hour. Thank you very much. We keep in touch and continue discussing and cooperating in the future. And I hope that those who are in the world hearing us and following this conference, they learned something too. Thank you very much for your participation.